listening to the mid.
I love it when you just hit record. It's my favorite.
Here we go.
Here we
After
go.
a week off for March break,
Yes, March
we're
break,
back.
no, you have March break that week. I think Ontario would be this week.
Oh, really?
And yeah, so it's this week. And the only reason that matters to me, because I don't have school-age children, is that I'm alone with dogs because the man took his children to the Dominican.
Ah,
So I'm here suffering and
all
behaving
alone.
oddly, I have to say. Like, I don't
How
think I'd
so?
be a good single person at all. Well, it's almost like I don't know what to do with my time, but then I'm upset because I don't feel like I still have enough time. It's an odd little cognitive thing that happens to me. So, and then I eat
Interesting.
really poorly.
Oh, really?
So I think if I were single, I would be 500 pounds and I would be broke. So, for instance, today on the way home from work, I left early because I've got the dog, so I'm kind of juggling my hours.
Right.
And I do have one kid here for a couple of days. So I'm like, I'll pick up some vegetables and be a good mother. So then I decide I'm stopping at Longo's, which, no offense to Longo's, they're super expensive. I never shop at Longo's. So then I'm going through Longo's and I know that I have zero willpower after work when I'm on a commute. Like zero willpower. If I waited until I got into town and was done my commute, I might have willpower. But because I know I still have like 30 minutes, 40 minutes ahead of me, I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking about what can I eat in the car? And it's like a total comfort. I had a cup of tea, I got a cup of tea, and then I was like, okay, what can I eat while I listen to this podcast I'd been waiting to listen to? So I got a tub, Wendy, not a bag, but a tub of caramel corn with chocolate bits in it, right? So then I've got my tub and my tea and my podcast, and then I'm like, oh crap, I need gas. So I go to the gas
All
station.
while driving? How do you do this while
Oh,
driving?
I'm doing, and I was probably like, anyway, I'll be arrested if I say what else I was doing because I'm a terrible for multitasking in the car. And then I go to get gas and I'm like, my car is disgusting. I'm going to get a car wash. And then I spent way too much money on this car wash with my gourmet popcorn. I'm eating this popcorn like a rabid animal in the car wash going, ooh, this is like decadent because I'm buying this expensive car wash while I eat my expensive tub of Longo's popcorn. And then I look at the calories like halfway through
Oh, you
and I'm
can't
like,
do
okay,
that.
well, now you can't eat dinner because you've eaten your weight in this frigging popcorn. And then I just felt awful. And I'm like, what do I have to do to like to wait to even this out? So then
Burn
I
it
got
off.
home. Yeah, or even like some sort of penance phase that my like recovering Catholic mind. So then I got home and I decided to go outside and shovel poo because we've got like I'm sure everyone right now, the
Oh,
snow is
yeah.
starting to melt and we
Yeah.
literally have like layers upon layers of poo under snow. It's the most disgusting. So then I made
Mm-hmm.
myself do that for half an hour and I don't know. Is it evened out? I don't know. All I know is I'm not very good at being alone. It's
I'm going to
awful.
say it's evened out. You're
Thank
good to
you.
go.
Yeah. And I managed to make pasta sauce for the kid. I mean, yeah, my karma's okay. I'm all right.
Yeah, there you go. It's done.
How was your March break off?
Well, I wasn't off. I had to work the whole March break, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I don't really know why we took it off.
What do you mean took it off? Oh, off it.
Like
Yeah,
the mid.
about the recording. Well, I had no idea actually, because last week I was like, so you were going snowboarding without your kid. And I'm like, so why are we recording the pod if you're
Yeah.
not worried about being with the kid that much? We're talking about an hour.
I know.
No, yeah, I didn't want to question
Anyway,
you because, far be it from me to question your wisdom, but
well, truthfully, I did have these plans. I had to plan that, like, okay, we weren't going anywhere, but I was like, oh, we're going to do like a movie night. We'll do popcorn and we'll have a game night and the whole thing. But it just didn't pan out that way. Last week was so busy with work that I was freaking bagged, man. So,
well, let's not pretend that they want to hang out with us for more than like a limited amount of time either. She's
yeah,
not a little kidlet anymore. She doesn't.
yeah,
It's like hang and then let me go to my room, please.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
She
So
really
that's,
would. She probably would have been thrilled if you left her alone for an hour to record this pod. Could have given
yeah,
her a
it was,
gift.
yeah, I don't know why we missed it, but Here we are, alas.
Here we are.
We're back.
Don't call me lass, you laddie.
What is that?
I don't know. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, I have a little funny tidbit.
Oh, what's your tidbit me away?
I need to tell you about the text my brother sent me randomly.
This week?
Last week. So again, for any listeners who aren't aware yet, that my brother has Wernicke's encephalopathy, which is basically wet brain from alcoholism. So he has a type of dementia. He cannot form new memories. But every now and then his true personality does come back out. And he sent me this text. And every line I'm reading is a separate text. Okay. So first he says, I want a monkey. Nothing
Classic
else.
Bill.
Then he says, to help me do things. I still haven't replied. Then he says, all in one line, I want a hooker. Same reason.
Oh my God, I love him.
And then
This should be put on a t-shirt.
And then sends a cool smiley face.
But look, that's like quite a bit of memory retention for him. You know, like that
How
3
so?
lines. Because sometimes if he texts me, it's like they're so disconnected each text, even if they're coming in close together.
Yeah, no, he does have little
That
waves
was
of like
that was lucidity at its best for Bill.
Just
You know,
cracked me up.
he has never lost his sense of humor, and that's probably you and he both have an incredible sense of humor, but I'll never forget when we went to visit him in one of the it was a rehabilitation, not a rehab, but a rehabilitation center after he had the liver issues. And his sense of humor, like there's very few people that can crack me up to the point of crying within like 25 seconds, and he is one of them.
Yeah.
He is just so witty. Make sure you save all of these. You should make like a little
I don't
book of
delete any of the
Billisms.
texts. I keep them all.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, Bill.
For sure.
Uh,
But that made my
I
day.
want a
That made my
monkey.
March break actually. I want a monkey.
Well, I'm
So,
thinking that's
what
kind of
is it?
smart
So he can do
because he
things.
doesn't walk anymore. So maybe a monkey, like he
Yeah.
could send it off and do things for him. But the hooker is like perfect.
But he also wants a hooker for the same reason.
Well, can you blame him? I mean, can we arrange for that to happen? The hooker, not the
Anyway.
monkey. I don't know where to find a monkey.
I can't get a monkey.
Especially on
No.
short notice. Okay, well, as long as we're telling things, because we really, and this is kind of our plight. We used to talk a lot more regularly before we started doing this podcast, right? Like,
Yes.
and I was saying, like,
Yeah.
now I miss you because, especially if we take a week off,
Yeah.
I don't really talk to you. Like, we talk a little bit at the beginning and we might talk at the end. But other than that, like, we really have to get back on top of our regular chat time.
Personal
But,
conversations.
Well, yeah, because then I forget, like, there's so many things that I save up to tell you. And so,
Yeah.
and now, our massive audience are the ones that get to hear it all. And I'm sure it's super boring. But I have to give a little social media update.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
which is, so anyone who's heard the episode about social, or actually any episode, I probably rant about social media and how it's not for me. Yet, I did follow, you wanted me to go on Facebook, and rightfully so, because it's a vehicle for promotion for the podcast. And I got on and I went right back down the rabbit hole. I don't know. It's literally been years since I've been on it. So I reconnected with a bunch of people, and it has actually been really good. Like, I ended up spending a lot of time on it, talking to people I hadn't talked to in ages. And it
Okay.
led me to 2 social events last week.
Wow.
So I went
two.
out with 2 people that I reconnected with on Facebook, ironically, that live within like 5 blocks of me. But I
Oh my
haven't seen,
God.
and I might see like one of them I see when I'm walking my dogs and we wave, and we used to work together and we've always gotten along. So we went out for a couple drinks last Thursday, and then another, and shout out to both of them if they're listening, another that I was friends with for years, and there's like nothing bad happened. I just, like, life changed. You get busy.
Yeah. Lost touch.
And so I went out for coffee with her on Monday, and we ended up talking for a couple of hours. And so I'm gonna, I'm going to file it on my pro side of Facebook, because, and have to agree with you that it's not all about advertising because those were two really good moments of connection, and I had
Yes.
a good time each time. And we sat across the table from each other and just went like, why don't we see each other anymore? Why did it take Facebook to
Yeah.
reconnect? But it did, and I would say very positive. Good. Been very
Good.
socially busy, man. I don't know if it's spring or
Oh,
Facebook or
maybe.
what.
Everybody's coming out of hibernation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bring it on, I say. Bring it on.
Well, shall we get to the question of the day?
Let's do it.
All
Question
right.
of the day
So
by
this
Wendy
one,
Boulay.
episode 13.
There you go. Lucky 13.
So this one could be a very large topic, but it doesn't need to be. And I don't want to expand it into something else. And I'll explain myself in a moment. I want to know your stance, like your personal views on revenge and holding grudges. So I don't want this to turn into, because I do think it would be a great discussion to have on another episode about forgiveness. So I don't want to go so much into forgiveness. More.
I won't talk about forgiveness at all. I don't believe in it. That's everyone who's ever crossed me. Forgive not.
So yeah, I want to know your views on it. Do you hold grudges? Do you believe in revenge? Do you think revenge is good? Do you think revenge is a form of karma? Like your views on it, because I have views.
Do I think revenge is good? Okay, where do you want to start? Resentment, grudge.
Let's
So
start
resentments
with
turn into grudges, right? You resent someone for doing something. That turns into a grudge. And then you're left with the choice to act on it, which would be revenge, correct?
yeah,
Is that what you want to discuss?
sure. Any and
Okay.
all of it.
Okay. So resentment for sure, because I'm a human being that breathes air. I definitely have resentments. And I'd say they come up like there's, especially because of, as per the last episode, there's been a lot of activity in my life over the past 6
Mm-hmm.
point something years that I think I hold some resentments towards some things and some people.
But do you hold a grudge? Like everybody, I think
I
everybody
think
has
what does
resentment.
grunge mean? Like how
Like
did
not
grudge
letting it
mean?
go. Like, so say we have a big fight
Yes.
and we make up,
Uh-huh.
but you still hold that grudge. You still hold that, yeah, I guess resentment where you've never quite let it go. Is that where it stays? Or do you take action on it?
Hmm. So I think if I had a major resentment, like if someone crossed a line that offended me, like my sensibilities, like deeply,
Mm-hmm.
I would take action in it, but my action would be explaining my stance to someone. Often I do that in writing because I don't think sometimes I don't like the back and forth of a conversation, and I'm guilty of this too because people get defensive when you're coming at them with something and then you never actually feel like you get your entire
Point
point across.
across.
So
Yeah.
I would often write like an email or a text or something if someone offended me pretty deeply, and then I guess it would depend a lot on their reaction, right? Like what happens from that. There's times when I think people don't understand that they've done something and that's not their intention, and I can get over that. But if someone is still staunch in the thing or the treatment of me or whatever it might be, then I might choose, like in an extreme situation, not to speak to that person anymore, not to have them as part of my life. Like if they've done something that,
Yeah.
unredeemable to me, then that might be the case. I still think like there's some things, like there's some people in my past that I don't want to say ruminate because I don't do it all the time, but if I think about them and then think, it immediately leads me to thinking about a situation.
Okay.
And then I still would have resentment. And I guess that would be a grudge, right? Because I'm still
Yeah.
carrying that.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard for resentment not to turn into a grudge. I think that would take a lot of work.
Yeah.
That, like that really, and then we'd be talking about the F word that you don't want to talk about tonight. Because I think if in order for it to not sit in that grudge or resentment zone, then you'd have to have some level of forgiveness or understanding or willingness to move past it.
You would. And I think it depends on the situation too. Like I think with resentment, and grudges, I think the biggest difference would be in trust, right? So like you can resent somebody's actions or whatever they did to you, but if you're holding a grudge, you don't actually trust that person anymore, right? Like you hang on to that,
Yeah.
I think, you know?
It's really good that we don't remember what we had a falling out over when we were teenagers, because we might have a resentment. Do you like, I don't remember
I don't remember at all.
specifics. I remember that we were mad at each other, but I don't know
Yeah.
why.
Like really mad too.
Like, didn't talk to each other for a long time, but I couldn't for the life of me tell you why. Like, I don't know.
No.
But I'm glad that I don't remember that, because maybe we'd have a resentment between us.
Do
But
you
to
think
me,
still?
I don't know. There's certain things that time does, because if it's something that's happened when you're young and you know that your point of view at that time, like your frame of reference for the world and relationships would be pretty flimsy to hold a resentment on.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of layers too, right? Like you could, I mean, okay, well, for me personally, I held a grudge, like a full on grudge against my own father for I don't know how many years. And maybe it's resentment. I don't know. What is the difference between grudge and resentment, really?
Well,
Maybe this is something that could have been researched prior to airing a podcast.
I think, well, like I said, I think it's a resentment turns into a grudge if it's not addressed or if it's not resolved. That's what I would say. Because a grudge is like, it seems bigger than a resentment, right? Like, because it's turned into something you hold.
Okay, I'm Googling.
Um, but revenge, I don't think I've taken revenge very often. I don't know if I'm trying to think of when I've taken revenge on someone. Sometimes I think just being right and knowing I'm right about something, or knowing that what that person said or thought or felt is untrue is revenge enough.
While both resentment and a grudge involve negative feelings towards someone, a grudge is a conscious decision to hold on to anger and ill will, often with a desire for vengeance. Whereas
Jesus.
resentment is more of a passive feeling of being wronged.
So it's like an injustice.
Yeah, exactly. Like knowing you've been done wrong, but it is what it is. Whereas a grudge is like, fuck this. I'm out for blood.
So I think that there's got to be something in between the two, because to me, I'm not out for vengeance with anyone. I think,
Well, it says often with a desire for vengeance. It's just, I think
yeah.
a grudge is more just making a conscious decision to not forgive, to hang on to the anger.
Is it a conscious decision? Is it a decision? Because aren't there things in your life where you're just not there yet to forgive? I can rationalize things. It doesn't mean I'm going to forgive. Like, I'm thinking of something in particular that I'm not going to share all the details of. But a person I haven't spoken to that would have been a family member, there's things that happened there that I don't forgive. Like, I can have empathy for that person still, because I still hear a lot about them in my life. Um, I can have empathy. I can want, not horrible things to happen to them, but I'm not going to forgive some of those things that happened during my time in their life, because they're like deep hurts that made me feel unworthy of stuff. Like, I know it's not about me in the end. I understand all that psychology, that everything is really about the person that's, acting horribly or whatnot. It's not about me, whether it's their insecurity, their own
So
stuff. And
then
I can
that's
understand
resentment.
that, but it doesn't take the hurt away from what they've done.
No, it goes on to say resentment is a feeling of bitterness or anger caused by feeling that one has been unfairly treated.
Okay. So I would say that I have resentment. I
Yeah.
don't think I have a lot of grudges, because I can also, like I said, rationalize stuff away pretty easily. Like, and I also don't like the idea of carrying that type of like bitter seed into your life, right? Like throughout your life.
Yeah.
Like, because at some point, so you make a decision not to continue with a relationship with that person if they've really wronged you. So there's a bit of letting go there that you have to go through as well. Doesn't mean
Mhm.
that you don't think back and you can't still get angry and you can't still be hurt, but they're not in your life anymore, and that's the action taken. I think now, like when something really bothers me, like if, let me use work and I won't get super specific, but I found out recently that one of the staff has said something about me that I think is pretty unfair. And it's stupid. It's like it's workplace gossip, right? Like and it got back to me. And I find that really hurtful because to me, it doesn't feel true. And I'm a pretty big stickler about my integrity at work and what I do and how I spend my time and what what I'm putting out there, right? Like
Right.
my work ethic, my values, all of it.
Mhm.
So instead of leaving it, I let that person know that that got back to me and that, if they don't want things to get back to me, they might think about not saying them at work because it's a small workplace and stuff recycle, right? People get
Yeah.
frustrated and they say things. And I just let them know that I knew,
Yeah,
right? And
for
I
sure.
because I don't sit on things anymore in a way that I used to, because then I think it builds unhealthy resentment. Like once I've said it and that person's aware that whatever their words or their actions are, that I found that hurtful or disrespectful in any part of my life, I think I would tell someone if it was really bothering me.
Yeah. Well, to that I would say after the podcast, just give me her name and number and
Hmm.
I'll come down and kick her fucking ass. 'Cause I'm vengeful.
Are you? Is
I
that the Xena warrior princess in you?
I'm not, you know what? I'm a little bit of both, okay? I'm going to say. Like I kind of lean towards an eye for an eye, but at the same time, it depends on the situation.
That
You
eye
know.
for eye can get you, into more trouble though, right? Like
Totally.
can carry, yeah. It was like, if I have to break you out of prison, then
It's not the right thing to do for like my spiritual growth. But no, all jokes aside, I think, see, that's where I get torn a little bit because I do have a tendency to be like that's, I don't know if it's the Irish temper coming out in me. The,
say it through your teeth when.
exactly. I was just about to. Like, son of a bitch, like I'll get you, kind of thing. But where does, at some point too, it's like, well, is revenge a form of karma, right?
I don't think we're supposed to be in control of karma, though. I think that's the whole point of karma. I don't think it's ours to dole out. I think we hope
Well,
that
how do you know?
I don't, but I
maybe
think
maybe
that's
it's the circle of life, right? Like maybe,
all right,
you know.
Elton. I don't know about this. I am learning something new about you for sure tonight, that you've got this little vengeful. So have you ever taken revenge?
Y- yeah. Like, well, funny, stupid things, right? Like, we'll be, silly little things. I believe in that for sure. Like, if Chad gives me like a playful, like, hey, punch on the shoulder, then I'll punch him, thinking
This is
in
hard.
my mind, thinking it's a little harder, right? But then
Okay,
he'll do it
okay.
back, and then I'll be like, you can't, because I already we're even, and I have to be like,
The last. You have to get the last punch in.
well, we have to be even. I can't
Okay.
let it sit, right?
So, okay,
Little
if we
things
look at
like
it
that.
like that, little things, sure, because I pinched the dude in Italy, which caused a lot of problems for me because he made me walk so much that my feet were literally like I thought I was gonna like topple over at any moment, and I was in so much pain, and it was his fault in my mind, so I pinched him. And he's not used to like that type of reaction, and he was like really, really offended. But I thought I'm in pain, so should you be. That's my rationalization. Like, aren't we in this shared experience together? And I'm experiencing this, so let me share that. Or was it just a pinch?
Oh my god.
Is that the same thing?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
I
listen,
think.
I looked up karma because I don't believe what you're saying is true. Okay. Hinduism
We're all over
identifies
the place.
karma. No, but when you say karma, I don't think it's ours to dole out. So Hinduism defines karma as the relationship between a person's mental or physical action and the consequences following that action. It also signifies the consequences of all the actions of a person in their current and previous lives, as well as the chain of cause and effect in morality. Okay. And then it says, is karma revenge? Okay. The law of karma does not take revenge. It's a natural reaction to your action. So it's like a natural consequence, right? Go back to your like parenting days. What was that woman, Barbara Coloroso? It was like a natural. Did you ever read her book?
No.
She was like a parenting guru, and she believed in natural consequences. So if your kid went outside without their mitts, you didn't hound them to put their mitts on. You're like, well, you're going to be cold, right? So
Okay.
it's a natural reaction. So some karma could be if someone wrongs you, like if I wrong you and you can't, take it, then you don't speak with me. I guess that would be a karmic reaction, is you're with one less friend.
Okay.
But I don't think going out after that person and enacting revenge is karma.
Being karma's assistant.
Because then someone, I mean, something karmic has to happen to you because you've gone out of your way to wrong someone. So then it's going to be like this never-ending cycle of karma.
Unless you're just even now because something bad was done to you. So now you've just evened up the score.
I don't think it works like that. I don't know, but maybe you should go to Buddhist temple and figure that out, or Hindu temple. We can do
But
that.
I don't
on
think
my
we can
birthday.
have this discussion without actually speaking about forgiveness. Because no, I'm going back to it. So now we can talk about forgiveness. I've changed my mind.
I love that this isn't my question at all, but you're arguing with me as if I said, please don't talk about forgiveness. Okay, against my better judgment, let's talk about forgiveness. So that is a good, like, do you think you can fully forgive someone who's really wronged you?
Yes. Yes, I can.
You can.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And I have.
You want to name names?
Well, my dad.
Oh, okay.
So that's an example of why forgiveness, I think, needs to come into conversation because my whole life I was angry. I was an angry teenager, especially teenager. You get really angry, right? And so I hated him. I felt like nothing but hatred for him. And because he left and, I thought wanted nothing to do with us and just left us to the wolves type thing, right? And it wasn't until later on in life when I finally realized that, you know what, like, this anger is serving no good, especially to myself. It's only harming myself. And so at some point I had to just say, I have to forgive you. He wasn't here, but I just said it. And when I actually did that, when I actually forgave him, it was like this weight lifting off my shoulder. It was like the first time I could take a deep breath in a long time. So
can I ask you a question?
Go,
can I interrupt just for a second to ask a question because you're making me think about something? Mm-hmm. So was it that simple? Was it you, or was forgiveness a long road? Because I don't know if you can just suddenly decide to forgive someone.
No, it wasn't just me saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to forgive you. It wasn't like that. It was a while of me focusing on like, I'm tired of being tired and angry. Like, I'm tired of feeling sick and tired. I'm tired of all of these feelings. Like, I just want to be happy. That's all I wanted. And the more I was focusing on that over the weeks and whatever amount of time, the more I started coming to conclusion of, I think this is stemming from that. I think I'm hanging on to something more than what I think, and
did you have to kind of go through, looking at what you were so angry at and forgiving it like little bit by
absolutely
little bit? Yeah.
So I got some self-help books as well. And the one that actually helped me the most, as funny as it might sound to people, was by Dr. Phil. It was Self Matters, that book. That book changed everything. It really, the exercises in it made me really sit down and think and figure shit out. And then that's how I came to the conclusion that like, I'm just hanging on to a lot of anger about my dad and I have to learn to let that go and go into what specifically I was hanging on to, what I felt, where I felt wronged, and kind of focusing on those areas. So like trust and self-worth and all of those things. And no, it was definitely a process. It wasn't an overnight thing or, just saying I forgive you, but it was building up to that. So there actually was a day where I said it out loud. I was alone and I said it out loud. But that moment I was ready and I was.
Well, I think there's a lot of power in saying things out loud too, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that there's a lot of power in speaking to people who may not be in the room or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You know what? And going back to Dr. Phil, do I think he's a complete loser and an idiot now? Yeah, but he did have a couple of things that he said. You, do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? Remember? And I'm like, that's a yeah, for sure. You want to pick between those two. And then the other thing I remember him saying on his show was about marriage and how if you want to have a strong family, the marriage, like the relationship has to be at the top of the tree. If you picture the relationship and the family like a tree,
Yeah.
that nothing can touch that relationship. Like you don't let the kids shit, you don't let
Mm-hmm.
other people's stuff get into your relationship because that's maybe it was the base of the tree because that makes more sense. But anyway, you don't let anything
Yeah.
touch that. And I mean, not that that helped my first marriage, but I did, like, I've always remembered that. So,
Yeah.
I
Well,
get
this is like when, like, way back too, right?
when he
When
first
he
came
was
out, yeah,
newish. Yeah.
everyone liked the fact that he was no nonsense, right? Like he just said,
Yeah.
and everyone trusted Oprah so much, let us say, that
Yes.
anyone
Yeah.
she introduced became golden,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Now I think he's a complete idiot and money mongering jerk, but it
I
doesn't
don't
mean
pay
that he didn't
attention to
have
him
some
now.
value. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was, that. And so I think you have to get to a point, like, on a serious note, that first of all, yeah, revenge is not the way to go. Like, true revenge. Like, you can't go out and, like,
I'm
actually
thinking of
harm
like Kill
people.
Bill or something.
Yeah. No, like, no. It's
I'm picturing you in the Uma Thurman yellow. Remember the yellow onesie and just like getting your
yeah.
knives out and
I'm going to kill Bill. Oddly enough, that's my dad's name.
oh, and your brother, but don't kill him.
Yeah. No.
So that, when you talk about the parental relationships, it does bring up some stuff for me because
Mm-hmm.
I definitely had a very complicated relationship with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And my view of grief, right? Because when my father died before my mother, and it's never been super complicated for me. It's been sad and it's, like any grief, it still can open up. But everything I had needed to say to him, I had said. Our relationship was in a good place and was pretty simplistic, if I might. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like I loved him, he loved me. It was anything that we went through, it really, my relationship with my dad started to really shift when I was 18 or 19 because my parents had a really very not a good relationship. They really my mother resented, talk about resentment. My mother resented my dad a lot. She resented their marriage. She resented,
Really?
oh my God, it was bad. Yeah. And I mean, they didn't sleep. I mean, they must have slept in the same room, 9 months before I was born, but I don't remember them ever sleeping
That's
in the same
true.
room. They were not a connected couple, and my mom really blamed my father a lot for her lot in life. And she really blames her father for, her father was really wanting her to marry my father and all the rest of it. Anyway, all this to say that my relationship with my dad, when I started to view my dad through my own lens, so my like late teens, early
Right.
20s, really shifted, and I, nothing but love for my dad. Um, and he had a longer end of life, so I knew he was
Mm-hmm.
dying. I was able to say what I needed to say and all of the rest of it and spend really good time. And when I look
Mm-hmm.
back to his, last couple of months, as sad as it is, it also was a really beautiful death. We were able to bring him home. We had slideshows of, we were all in bed with him. It was lovely.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom died very quickly. She died of a mass heart attack. And there was been a lot to unpack over the years because we didn't have a neat and tidy relationship, right? She
Right.
she resented me, I think, for being very different than her. She was raised in a time when children should be seen and not heard, especially girls. She wanted me to be more ladylike, less loud, less brash, as she would say. She
Okay.
was not one for compliments. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sure I've told you this story before, where when I was 12 or 13, I asked her why she had never said that I was pretty. And she said,
Mm-hmm.
because the Chinese believe that if you compliment something's beauty, it will be taken away. And it took me a beat. because I'm looking at her thinking, well, okay, that's an interesting rationalization. And then I did ask the obvious question, has it occurred to you that we are not Chinese? Um, to which she said, it's just a belief I've heard, and I don't, I don't believe in telling you you're beautiful. And I was like, okay, fair. That's your right, your belief. And she would give out backwards compliments eventually, but I also, and I've said this before, like my formative years were her menopause years. So I do have a little bit more, understanding of what she might have been going through.
Hmm.
Not to say that, makes it feel any better because it wasn't a close relationship, but I'm trying to think if I resent her for any of that. I don't know. I think I probably hold a couple of grudges, and it's not that I don't, understand her and try and look at her through the mature lens of, someone who's going to be 50 and knows a thing or two about unhappiness and unhappy
Hmm.
marriages and all the rest of it. But I also have used that for fuel in my own parenting because it's been really important to me not to be more vulnerable, I guess, with my
Yeah.
kids. And I think a lot of it came from insecurity and a lack of vulnerability in her own life. And and
Hmm.
not to stray too far away, but because I am trying to come back to the point of resentments in those long-term relationship, especially when someone's gone. Like it's not like I can resolve a lot with her.
Yeah. Hmm.
And that going back to regrets, it's not really a regret, it's a disappointment. And it all kind of ties together, interestingly enough, right? Because
Yeah.
a disappointment would be the root of a resentment, which would then foster a
Yeah.
grudge, right? And
Yes.
then
Yeah.
your choice, the action in it, because I don't know if you have a lot of control necessarily over the original disappointment. It's not like
No, you
because
don't.
if you had some control in the situation, then it would be a regret,
Yes.
right? Versus a
Exactly.
disappointment. So the disappointment,
Exactly.
so it's kind of finding yourself in that resentment in a way, like finding, are you okay? As long as you're okay, then you can probably move past it. If you
Hmm.
can, tidy up whatever lasting damage that action or
Yes.
words or whatever it might be, and if you're okay, then there's really no reason to go on and be resentful because it's either one of two things. It's either that person is cruel, right? That it's cruel and
Yeah.
they wanted to hurt you,
Hmm.
and then you just don't need them in your life. Or the second being that they didn't mean for the impact of their actions,
Yeah.
in which case it's easier to forgive them.
Yeah.
That's my take. I
I
don't
agree.
have vengeance. I don't. I think sometimes when there's people like we've talked about in the last episode how there was people that didn't necessarily understand my changing my life and being in the relationship I'm in. Sometimes I'd like, I'm happy if I think that they see that I'm happy.
Hmm.
I don't know if is that revenge? I don't.
I don't know. I don't. Well, maybe it's sort of a form of it, like a passive revenge,
Well, because I
right?
think there was like quite a few people that didn't think my current relationship was going to last, and having them like not that I'm there, a lot of them aren't in my life, but there is a little bit of a secret happiness I have when I'm like, yeah, and it's better than it was when it started. So,
Yeah.
because it's almost like it's a confirmation that I knew what I was doing,
Yeah.
right? And I felt at the time that people thought that I was either having some sort of breakdown or didn't know what I was doing.
Hmm.
And I knew more than any other time in my life exactly what I
Hmm.
was doing,
Yeah.
right or wrong by their
Yeah.
standards, right? So I think
Yeah.
sometimes there's a bit of like joy and I don't even know, I don't even need them to know. I know, so it's enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes in my head, I
Exactly.
just go, haha, look at us, right?
Yeah.
Like we're,
That's it.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I've done
That's
that
the
too.
closest as I get to revenge, I would say.
Okay. I think really same with me.
I
There's
want to hear
nothing,
the darker side.
there really isn't though, honestly. Like, no.
We take revenge by coming back every week.
Oh. Okay. So I have one last question.
Okay.
What's the difference then between holding somebody accountable and seeking revenge?
I think it's like I've said, like if someone's really done something to offend you, it's letting them know. I mean, that's all you can really do. You can't hold someone to account. Like you can't make them feel badly about something if they don't feel badly about it, but you can let them know how it affected you. Right? Like I said
That's true.
about yeah, if someone's really crossed a line with me, then it's my responsibility to let them know that. And then what they do with that is not my business. That's their business. But I've done
That's
what I
true.
can do.
Yeah.
And then I've let it go.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah.
What
No,
do you
I'm
think?
exactly the same. If somebody really wrongs me to the point where my emotions, like my stress level rises and anxiety and like, like anger, then for sure I'm going to talk to them about it.
So do you think that's vulnerable? Like that's a piece of vulnerability? Do you think that when you, because you were saying, like, if I go back to our episode on vulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
um, you talked about having issues with being vulnerable. Like, is that part
Yes.
of it for you? Will you often let stuff slide because it does
Yes.
require that type of vulnerability?
Yes.
Now, is that something you want to change as you,
Yes.
all right?
Absolutely.
Okay, then I'm going to
It's
hold you accountable to that.
it's easier for me to get angry and show my anger. That's never been a problem for me.
But
Not that
you
I'm
know what?
angry
This
all
is
the time, but you know what I
interesting
mean?
because I don't see your anger. I see more that you would avoid someone and be
Well,
angry in
that's
talking about them.
no. I no. It's
What does
not
your
often.
anger look
It's
like
very
other
very
than
rare. It's very rare. I don't lose my temper very much at all. Like I can't even remember the last time I lost my temper. But when I do, it's all cards on the table. Like I'm angry and I'm yelling and the whole thing. I do lose a little bit of control where I can't sit down and just say, okay, let's talk about this calmly. Like I can't do that. When I've gotten to that point, like I'm yelling. But and that's easier for me. I don't know why. But to sit down and do that whole discussion in a calm
you want to hear
manner.
my take on that?
Yeah.
I think that you're a pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Like you're a people pleaser. You've grown up as a people pleaser and a
Yes.
peacekeeper. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have to sit down and confront and someone gets defensive or someone starts to explain away their behavior, I could see you going, okay, yeah, okay, just to end the conversation.
I used to. Not so much anymore.
That's
Like
good.
I'm definitely more I used to be a people pleaser, but I'm not anymore. 100% I can say that. Now I'm still a peacekeeper though. For sure. I'll try and
That's
keep
a
the peace
rule
in
in your
any way that I
childhood
can.
that it's really hard to break from, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. And I haven't actively really tried to break from that, to be honest. Um
Me either. I'd say I have a bit of a tendency to that too, like from childhood. Like I can quickly bring up memories that would have put me in a position like that I held
yeah.
that line as well.
Yeah.
It is a hard one to break.
It is. It is. But to just my vulnerability issues really more come from like if I'm feeling a certain way, not angry at all, but like if I just, I don't know, have an issue or something with someone, it's really hard for me to be the first to bring it up. It's hard for me to sit down and say, okay, look, I'm having this problem, blah, 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 whatever. Let's talk about it. Let's address it. It is hard for me. It's not that I won't do it. I'll do it if I feel the need to, but I will avoid it if I can,
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's unpleasant, right?
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
human tendency to avoid unpleasantness.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Do you feel like we answered anything?
I think so. I mean, it took us at the beginning, we had to learn what the hell we were talking about.
Well,
But
that
I think
sounds
we
like
got
any
there.
other
I
episode
think
that
we
we've.
got there. I think in general, always work towards letting go of your resentments and grudges because you're really only going to benefit yourself. That's the moral of the story, folks.
Thanks, Dr. Wen. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's cut and dry. That would be what I say. I think that there's like as everything else that we, come to realize at this point, there's nothing that it's not black and white.
No, it never is.
Well, good
Well,
question,
there we
Wen.
go.
That's a deep thinker. That makes me think.
Yeah.
So next week, we have another guest
We
already.
have it. Yes, I know.
And this is a real departure for us. Should we say what it is? Because I think it's worth like people tuning into it. It's not a secret. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a
So we
topic for
have,
sure.
yeah, we have a guest, a younger guest coming to us, who I've met through my partner's work. at a couple of different occasions, and the topic of non-monogamy has come up with her because she is in a non-monogamous relationship, and so are many of her friends. And she said that that's not uncommon in her friend group. So we're going to be bringing Lexa on to discuss this, and I'm just really super interested about it. It brings up all kinds of, things, certainly trying to understand the view
Yeah.
and the benefits and why people are seeking out a new way to look at relationships, really, right?
Yeah.
Because I think a
And
lot of people might
understanding
argue,
because, yeah.
and I think a lot of people might argue that the traditional sense of relationship, marriage, all of these things may not be working. We're living a lot longer than we did when marriage was first conceived. Marriage was
Hmm.
conceived for, all kinds of reasons, a lot of which were around land ownership, but we can get onto that another time. And, the reality is that most marriages, or more than half, at least half, end in divorce. So
Yeah.
is this newer generation of people looking outside the box of marriage, are they on to something, right? So I'm super interested in that. I'm interested in talking about jealousy and all of it. So what I'd
Hmm.
like to do is invite anyone who has a question to send it, because I think it's going to be a bit more of a provocative topic for us. We're definitely going into some uncharted territory, and I'm super excited about this.
Yeah. Same. Same. I have a lot of questions.
Oh yeah, like this one, if you like this one, I've been kind of researching and building questions for a while because I want to use Lexa's time well, but I also just really want to fully get a grasp because to me it's fascinating.
Absolutely.
And then,
Very
looking at
interested.
it from our point of view too, like we're coming at it from the mid, thus the name.
Hmm.
And how when we've been brought up in really traditional society, surrounded by traditional relationships, how does this challenge us and make us think?
Yeah. No, it's going to be really good.
Yeah, so that's coming at you next week. Anything else? Do we have any questions?
We do. I'm just actually trying to load it up here. Hang on a second.
Load up
I'll
the question.
edit
Is it a
this.
loaded question?
No.
Okay.
All right. So this one is it's a repeat one again. This one's from
Mhm.
Connor from Ontario.
Okay.
And he wants to know if we could speak another language, which would we choose?
Hmm. I think Italian. So I tried to learn Italian before my trip, and I
Hmm.
learned I learned phrases that were unhelpful, like my neighbor is tall and nice, which I did say to our waiter because I was like, I've learned this Italian and someone's going to hear it. So I told him that my neighbor was tall and nice, which is true. I have a very nice, very tall neighbor. But I would like to be able to go and converse. Plus, I love the sound of Italian. Like I love the
The
cadence. I love,
flow.
yeah, it's something
Yeah.
I've always wanted to learn. It came like fairly easily, the phrases that I learned that I didn't use. But that would be my answer.
Yeah.
Italiano. I'm speaking it right now.
Mine would be French. Being that
Oh,
I've
the
lived in
irony.
Quebec for 25 years and I still can't speak French.
Oui, oui, mon chéri.
Yeah,
Fermez
no,
la
I would
bouche.
definitely like to speak French for sure.
Fermez
I
la
just don't
porte.
have that aptitude for picking up languages. I've tried. It's not for lack of trying. I've
Well, I should
tried.
think not. If you haven't picked it up living with people that speak French for the duration of your marriage, then the rest of your family is absolutely fluent.
Yep. So, yeah.
Wendy, the
All
housekeeping,
right.
please.
If you have any questions or want to get in touch with us, you can email us at themidconversations@gmail.com. You can get in touch with us on Instagram and YouTube. Our handle is at the mid_podcast, and our Facebook page is at mid podcast. You can also subscribe on our website to receive an email notification whenever we release a new episode at themidconversations.wixsite.com/podcast.
Well done.
Voila. There you go. French.
Ah, see, we
That's it. Oh, there you go. Seaweed.
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 All right.
All right.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for having me, Wendy.
Come anytime.
I will. I'll keep coming back. All
All
right.
right.
You've been listening. The Mid. I didn't say two.
The mid, the mid. The mid, the mid. The mid.